Pure Havane went from a lukewarm reception to a highly appreciated flanker from me. Tune in. Why the change of heart? Hey YouTube fragrance family, welcome to another Robes 08 fragrance review. Today I'm going to be reviewing from the house of Thierry Mugler and the scent called Pure Havane. Let's go! Pure Havane hit the shelves in 2011. Bottle size is what you see is what you get, the 3.4 ounce bottle. Concentration, it is an eau de toilette. Flankers, of course this is a flanker of the original, Amen. And pricing, retail, now it's been on the market for a while. You can find it for around $70 to $90 online, but shop around. You can almost get this. I've seen it as low as 50 bucks online. So do your research and you can get it for well under 100. The nose behind Pure Havane is none other than Monsieur Jacques Huclier. Huclier is the architect behind the originator, Angel Men, and the Pure line. So it only makes sense that Huclier was brought back for Pure Havane. Now let's take a look at the note breakdown. Very simple, straightforward note breakdown for Pure Havane. Let's take a look at an introduction. The main theme of this fragrance, tobacco and honey. These two are going to be peppered throughout this fragrance. In the mid we got patchouli, cacao, and tonka bean. And in the base we got labdanum, amber, and styrax. Now let's take a look at the major notes to this nose. The major notes to this nose, of course, tobacco, honey, patchouli. Of course, it's an Amen flanker. It has to have a wallop of patchouli, tonka, and amber. Group, this is an oriental fragrance. How many sprays is in where? Now, my application for Pure Havane, I'm very much straightforward. I'm going to be looking at 5 sprays. This one's a little weaker than the darker counterparts in this lineup, Pure Malt and the original Amen. So I go 1 spray on the chest as I usually do, 2 on the neck, so here and here, and then 2 on the arm, so 1 on each arm. So I'd go right here if I'm wearing a long sleeve like this, rolled up right here, and that's it. 5 sprays and I am set. Now, what do I smell from this fragrance? Well, let's do another spray here, a fragrance review spray on my hand, just to remind me of this introduction. It is a very nice, warming, comforting introduction. It doesn't really have the star power from a Pure Malt or the original Amen, in my personal opinion, but warm, inviting tone to the scent. You get a solid balance of sweet notes and also darker notes. In Havane, the sweeter notes actually prevail. So in Angel Men, there is some sweet notes, but there is darker notes, and I think those darker notes actually win the game. In here, the sweeter notes actually prevail in this one. So it's a much sweeter fragrance than some of the other counterparts. Now, the opening of Havane to my nose detects a unlit cherry cigar-like feel. It just reminds me of when I was overseas. There's one of my crew members that really liked a Captain Black cherry cigars. Now these things are cheap. I'm not saying that this smells cheap, but it really smelled like, not when he was smoking them, but it reminded me of the open pack of those cigars sitting, waiting to be smoked. And if you picked up that pack and kind of smelled like the row of them, I know they're individually wrapped, but I remember him just passing me one and I kind of smelt it under my nose, and this is what Pure Havane's opening smelt like, and it really is an outburst of cherry, and I'm going to get into that. More cherry, more of the flavoring, the dip of a cherry flavoring than the actual tobacco leaf. There's no actual smoke to this scent. There's no smokiness. There's no ashiness to the fragrance. It doesn't smell like a lit cigar from my nose. It really is that the tobacco is there, but it is fairly light in this opening and actually fairly subtle. It's more about the flavoring of cherry and some tobacco leaf to kind of guide it. The cherry reminds me of a syrupy, sticky. The stickiness might be from the honeyed. It is a honeyed sweetness, so it really reminds me of syrupy, sticky, red sweetness to the scent. Not a fresh, authentic cherry. Now, Mugler is not known to have authentic notes in their scent, so this is no surprise or shock to me. It doesn't bring down the grade of the fragrance, but it is highly synthetic. It really kind of, it's not a fresh cherry note. It really is a synthetic, syrupy, sticky red sweetness to the scent. There's also the familiar patchouli in this opening, which is present not only in this opening, but throughout the fragrance, which I come to expect from Mugler. The patchouli and Pure Havane seem to be pushed out of favor compared to the other releases, like Pure Malt and the original Amen, which both have a full-bodied patchouli. In Havane, it seemed much more muted, easier to like as a patchouli hater. So a lot of people that don't like patchouli probably don't like Amen, they don't like Pure Malt, but in here, it's almost muted to a degree that you would actually not really, it really wouldn't affect you as a scent head. At times in the opening, Pure Havane gave me a menthol-like appeal, which you could technically say it's from the patchouli. However, please remember, mint was actually in the original opening of Amen, and it also gave Amen a menthol-like appeal, like a breath of fresh air or a Vicks Vapor Rub kind of appeal, which is also present here. It does have that uplifting opening, and even if mint is not listed in the note breakdown, I still think that this fragrance has a menthol-like appeal in the opening. Now, it's a different type of menthol-like appeal because it has cherry and a wallop of cherry. So with the cherry and that menthol, it could remind users of a cherry flavored cough drop. When I was young, I was getting those Vicks Vapor Rubs. My mom used to get me those, and it was the cherry flavored, and this is what it kind of reminded me of, that cough drop. The opening of Pure Havane is all about the cherry. Yes, it's backed by patchouli. It is backed with tobacco and honey and some amber. It's very warm, comforting, so it's not really a fruity fragrance, but really when you put your nose to it, very dark, very sweet, but the cherry is at the forefront of this fragrance, not really the tobacco. Now, in the dry down, you receive the usual patchouli backbone that anchors the Amen line. This is paired with tobacco leaf, honey, and those are the main pillars of Pure Havane. The scent is much sweeter and with much less patchouli than the heavier counterparts, like in Malt and also the original Amen. I pinpointed also throughout the scent that the amber in this fragrance kind of threw out a subtle powdery aspect, which gives more depth to the scent. So if you've never really gotten that powdery scent, really stick your nose to your like my hand here, and I can feel the powderiness in Pure Havane. Very well camouflaged, but it is there. It's very subtle. The ambery vanilla as a whole comes through much more in this dry down of the fragrance, almost giving the scent a French vanilla-like accord. So very much going into more of a gourmandish side than a heavy tobacco-based scent. As a whole, tobacco scents generally like to show different aspects of the tobacco, including an imagery of either smoke or ash, and you get that a lot in the niche side of things. They give the scent a darker aspect or a darker tone to the scent. This is not what Pure Havane is all about. It will show the user of something a little more clean, a little more user-friendly as it can for a tobacco-based scent. It has a lot of sweetness, so it will cater to the younger folks out there. I know a lot of reviewers deem this as more of a mature scent. I don't see it. I see that there is a mature vibe to it, but I think the sweetness and the tobacco is kept at bay so much. It doesn't have an ashy feel. It doesn't have a smoky feel. It really isn't that much tobacco in this scent. Pure Havane's not a true thick tobacco scent. It doesn't amplify much of the complexities that a tobacco note can show. It's more of a simplistic tobacco-based scent. There is a cacao light, as I like to say it, a cacao light feel from the patchouli. It shows its face more into the mid to the late base. So patchouli in obviously Amen, Pure Malt and all that, they will have a cacao-like feel, and it's more like a lighter tone to this one, which almost goes with the vanilla and all the other sweet aspects to give it almost a French vanilla feel to the fragrance. Pure Havane is a solid release from the House of Mugler. I can tell from people like myself that are true Amen fans, like you grew up with Angel Men, it just blew your mind. This could be a step down from Angel Men, even Pure Malt, which in my opinion, I personally feel it is a step down. But that's not to poo-poo on the scent itself. This is really a great scent. it does make the Amen DNA much more appealing to a broader range and a broader audience. So I can see why on YouTube and the fragrance community, a lot of people gravitate to this, especially if they don't like Amen and Pure Malt. I'm on the Pure Malt Amen bandwagon, and I think this is a step lower, but still a very solid scent. Now let's get into recommended age. I say I'm going against the grain and I'm going any. A lot of people are saying this is mature, 25 and up. No, I think this can go teens and up. Anybody. I really think it has a lot of aspects that can go either way. So I think anybody can really wear this. Reminds people of what? Quite a bit of fragrances. Insurrection Wild, I think, is a cheap... I've never smelt Insurrection Wild, but I've heard a lot of people compare it to this one. Best time to wear this fragrance. This is the type of fragrance that I would wear on a date. If I was single, yeah, this would be date, nighttime. It can also be worn daily, especially in the cooler weather. You can wear this daily use. You can wear it casually. I wouldn't really dress it up, but you can. Great for Christmas and Thanksgiving, holidays, things like that. It just has that feel around the holidays. This has like that Burberry London kind of holiday cheer type of feel. I just like that. The cherry really does pop and make it really work well during those kind of seasons. Talking about seasons, fall and winter, not only, but fall and winter most primarily. When fall comes, I dust off my Mugliers and I start wearing them. Unfortunately for this guy, when I start wearing Amen and Pure Malt, I start getting excited. I love those fragrances every year. I love them. I never get tired of them. And that kind of puts this one on the wayside. And once winter comes, I almost want to change gears a little bit. And this one can be worn during the winter. Don't get me wrong, but it's best for fall. This is a fall-based set. Development. Is this linear, average, or complex? This is a very linear set. There's not much going on. Yeah, there's not that much complexity to it. There is some, because it's a Mugler Amen flanker, so it will have some complexity to it. But really, the Richter scale doesn't move much. From top to bottom, there's not much development in this. It really doesn't move. Work appropriate? You can, but for most part, no. Signature scent worthy? No. It can be, but I just don't think these Mugler scents are more, I don't know. I see these Mugler scents as once in a while. I gotta be in the mood for them. I can't just wear them every day. I'm gonna get sick of it. So it's almost like a treat for myself. So that's why I don't say signature scent worthy. Now let's get into the rating system. Rating system with this one. Let's see how it tests against a lot of Mugliers. Got all great scores on my channel. So let's take a look at it. Projection, 7 bottles out of 10. It's not a beast in the projection as other Mugliers. So 7 bottles out of 10. It is fairly moderate. It is going to dance off your skin quite a bit, but against the rest, it really is a little tamer. Longevity, same thing. 8 bottles out of 10. Very solid for a designer. I'm looking for 7 to 9 hours. If you give me that, I'm happy. And it did give me 7 to 9 hours, so 8 bottles out of 10. It's not beast. It does hit 10 plus sometimes, but most of the time it hits in the V. Compliment factor. This is fairly high, 8 bottles out of 10. Again, it's a sweet fragrance. It really isn't that daring. It has some, it tippy-toes into the daring spectrum, but really the most compliments I got with this one was always around a holiday. Thanksgiving time, this is best. A fall, when the leaves are falling, oh man, this one works very, very well as a compliment factor. That goes to uniqueness. How unique is this fragrance? It's unique enough. Uniqueness, I gotta give it an 8. It's not very high in the spectrum of uniqueness, just because lately a lot of fragrance houses are doing fragrances like this. It isn't the most unique Angelman flanker out there. So there is a lot of fragrances that do this, but at the same time, I gotta give it its props at an 8. Pricing versus what you get. Well, Amen flankers, I gotta look at price and what I get, and it's usually a positive. Usually 9 bottles out of 10 with this one. The Mugler pricing is set, and I think it's worth it. Going against a lot of these designers that are going around $100 a pop. I can't go wrong with this one at 9. Versatility, this one gets 7 bottles out of 10. It is fairly versatile for darker Amen flanker, but I think what helps it in versatility is the projection and longevity. It lacks a little bit, so you can wear it in closer settings. Very great. Again, it's comforting, it's warm, and if you are having, you know, close encounters, or, you know, having a date night or something like that, you're going to be very close. This one's not going to choke them out, so that's what I like about it. So it gets a 7. That goes to smell. Overall, very good smell. There is some things that I don't like about it, but there is some things I really, really like about it. It has to get a 9 bottles out of 10, and that goes to an overall score. Pure Havane. Even though not the best flanker on the Angel Men lineup, it is high up there. I really do like it. I changed my mind on it, and I think it's a very solid release, but not one of the best. At a 9 bottles out of 10, still a very good score. And you know me, I don't give out 9s and 10s like candy. This is a definite 9. Very solid release from Mugler. Now for buy, try, or pass, Pure Havane. What am I going to give it? I think this is a buy-worthy fragrance from the House of Mugler. Yeah, it's not one of the best from the Amen lineup. However, if you're a collector, I think it's a must-get. It would most likely make my top 5 Mugler Amen flankers list for sure. I think it would make top 5. Again, it won't make number 1, but it is very close. So it's one of the better flankers, even though it has a few downgrades here and there. So really a worthy fragrance to get. Now overall, this is one of the safer, darker Amen flankers. It's easier to wear because of the moderate projection, and it's not as daring as the original or even Pure Malt. I felt personally it was truly simplistic, not as great as Pure Malt. Went away from the original DNA a little too much for my taste. So these are things that are downgrades that I personally feel. I love this brand because of the complexity and being different from everything else in the designer market. This was closer to being easier to love, easier to be closer to things that are actually on the market. It's kind of stayed away from its, what makes a lot of these Amen flankers really great, like Pure Malt, is it continued to throw out complexity, and it continued to throw out that it was very much different than anything in the game. Pure Havane almost made itself a little more easier to love, and that's why it does get a lot more love. They took many of the daring notes out of the original Amen and made this one a little more sweet, more gourmand, easier to love, and hence the reason why this scent is so loved in the community. In my personal opinion, the complexity was kind of stripped from Amen in this one. Not totally stripped, it has some complexity to it, but it was stripped quite a bit, and that might have been a good reason why I disliked this one upon first getting it. I felt it was very linear, and it wasn't up to snuff in regards to Pure Malt, which was an excellent flanker to Amen. Also, Mugler scents are highly synthetic, and is part of the charm of these scents. I'm not bringing it down because it is synthetic. However, I felt at times the synthetic cherry appeal that was in this one was almost too much. Instead of being part of the whole picture and putting everything together, it almost felt like it was almost synthetic, almost to a fault. Linear, almost to a fault. You know, not as complex, almost to a fault, but there is a lot of great things to love about this. That's why it's a buy, and that's why it got a 9. Overall, that's why. I think it's a very, very solid release, but for personal taste, I think Malt and the original Amen still trump this one. So thank you, fragrance community, for watching. Have a good one, and yes, if you want to stick around, I will cut to the box and bottle so you can take a little glance at it. Let's go. Now, looking at presentation, I'm not going to go into too much detail. There's over 40 fragrance reviews on Pure Havane. So let's take a look at the box itself. As you can see, Amen Pure Havane, Mugler Eau de Toilette. Looking at the back, it's got the presentation at the bottom. You have your batch code. Good to go. Now let's take a look at the bottle. Now looking at the bottle, it's got the brown, of course, the star, the crappy atomizer that they usually have, and that's about it. I'm not going to spend too much time with the rubber flask. We all know the atomizer sucks, so I'm not even going to do a spray of it. As you can see, my juice is down to the upper star, so I still got a lot of juice left.